The Dark Knight Black IPA. Because it's not the beer you deserve, it's the beer that you need right now. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Cityscape Brewing. Today, we're going to be talking about a black IPA. It's, like I said before, maybe not the one that you wanted to go to, but once you try a black IPA, you're going to go, wow, I've been missing out. Even if you're not the strictest IPA fan and you are a dark beer fan, this kind of mixes the best of both worlds, right? You get this dark, complex color, and you still get a lot of that bitterness and hoppiness that you expect from an IPA. So I'm gonna go through exactly how I made this beer from start to finish, and as always, I'll have the entire recipe in the video description below. But I need everybody to go and hit that subscribe button for me right now. All right, I know you guys all hit that subscribe button because you're awesome, and you hit that like button because it helps out the channel a lot. But if you really want to be awesome, hit that join button below and become a channel member. Members enjoy awesome perks like some exclusive recipes, my brew day sheets to help you out along the way and take some notes, and you get to watch my videos early before anybody else. So hit that join button and become awesome. All right, so let's quick talk about this recipe. This grain bill is the Justice League, if you will, of dark grains. We did a competition at our homebrew club that used the Wheel of Opportunity. We spun and chose ranges of things like ABV and IBU and SRM and region, and if there were going to be any other adjuncts in the beer or not. And we let the wheel decide. So in this particular case, I had to brew a beer that was between 7 and 9% ABV. It had to have an IBU that was between 30 and 50 IBU. The color, or SRM, needed to be 40 plus, which means that's a very dark beer, hence the Dark Knight. The region had to be the Americas, and there were no adjuncts that were selected by the wheel. And so that's the parameters that were given, and you needed to go out and create a beer. So I thought with the higher kind of ABV and the very dark color, I was going to try for a black IPA. So let's go through this grain bill real quickly. It was mainly 2-row with just under 11 pounds of grain, 10.85 pounds. After that, I added a little bit of Crystal 80 malt because I had that on hand, so I added a pound of that. And then we went again with the dark trio. And so for that, I had chocolate malt as about a half a pound or 8 ounces. I had a quarter pound or 4 ounces of Carafa 3, and then we had just 6 ounces of midnight wheat. And with those three, we got to an SRM of 40.5. So that's what gives it this almost coffee-like color. So with this one, we went for a mash temperature of about 152 to keep it pretty much balanced. Unlike a porter, we don't want this to be overly sweet. We want those hops and that kind of bitterness to shine through. So we kept it kind of at a balanced mash temperature. You could actually get this down into the 149, 150 range for a little bit more of a drier finish, which I personally would enjoy for this style. Once we got done mashing our grains, we pulled those out and made sure that we drained them good to get all those good sugary waters off of it, and we started our boil. And here come the hops. We started our hop additions at a 60-minute addition with Magnum hops. We did a half an ounce right away to give it that bitterness that an IPA really deserves. After that, we followed most of the other hops at the end of the boil, including 5-minute additions of an ounce of Cascade, an ounce of Centennial, and an ounce of Citra. In this case, I used whole cone Citra hops. I put those whole cone hops specifically into a hop spider because those whole cone hops really would clog that system up, so I make sure to use the hop spider for those. The other hops, I just threw those right in. This is what's going to give that hoppy flavor of those Cascade, Centennial, and Citra hops to still make this an IPA, right? Even though it's very dark, you want some of those hop characteristics in this beer. And to make sure of that, we actually dry hopped with 2 ounces of those whole cone hops, which Admittedly, I accidentally forgot to put it in the fermenter after it was done, and so I ended up doing this in the keg, which was the first time I had to actually do this in the keg, but it actually worked out pretty cool. I submerged the hops down by pulling down the magnets in the keg, and it worked great. Also, when I was ready to take it out after about 3 days of being in there, I was able to pull up the magnets, get it where I could grab the bag, pull it out, reseal the lid, and purge it again with CO2. So although that was kind of a happy accident, it still all worked out. I was still able to dry hop all the same. For the yeast, I used US-05, which is the same yeast I would normally use for a porter. It's just a clean ale yeast, and it allows some of these other maltier flavors and hoppy flavors to kind of shine through when the yeast flavor is less important. But that yeast choice really is up to you. You can use whatever you want. Any other West Coast IPA yeast would be totally fine in this scenario. I'm going to go through all of the aroma, flavor, and tell you my honest opinion of this beer in particular after you guys hit that like button, because I know you did earlier, right? Or you should have. If not, do it now. You got some time. All right, so let's go through the BJCP style guidelines to see how this one stacks up. It says appearance should be dark brown to black. Check. Clear if not opaque, and light haze is actually acceptable. In this particular case, it actually, when you put it into a hydrometer, which you cannot see through this beer whatsoever in this class, but it actually is fairly clear. Maybe a little bit of a haze, but it's really hard to tell because it is dark. For aroma, it should have high hop aromas with stone fruit, tropical, citrusy, pine, berry, or melon flavor, possibly with like those light chocolate or coffee notes. And with this one, that's what I get. A little bit of maltiness. I get some hop esters, not crazy amount of hoppiness, but maybe some caramel, maybe some sweetness like from the chocolate malts in there. Flavor-wise, the description says that should have low to medium malt flavor with restrained chocolate or coffee notes, but not burnt or ashy. The roasted notes should not clash with the hops. Light caramel or toffee is optional. Medium to high to very high bitterness. Dry to slightly off-dry finish with bitter to not harsh aftertaste, often with a light roast flavor that can contribute to the dry impression. And so let's go in for the flavor, and I'll tell you what I perceive in this beer. And so I'm getting a lot of that hops in there. I do get a good mix of malt in there, even though it's low to subtle. It's going to be hard to not taste some of those malts in there because I do get some of the chocolate slash coffee, maybe even a little toffee sweetness in there, maybe because it ended up a little bit on the higher side of the attenuation at 1.018. However, it does finish dry or even slightly off dry. And so I'm still getting that bitterness kind of kick that you want from that IPA, but I do get kind of those roasty kind of caramel flavors towards the end. And it's kind of mixed and complements some of that hoppy flavor. I'm getting kind of those citrusy, floral, and even a little bit piney hop flavors from this. Yes, I'm definitely getting that kind of citrusy hop, that bitterness towards the end, finishes dry. You still get some of that chocolate, coffee, or even toffee type flavors in there, but it is a really good mix with the hops. For mouthfeel, it should be smooth, medium to light medium body, medium carbonation, light creaminess is optional, and light warming is optional. That's from the alcohol flavor that's in the beer, or the alcohol content anyway. For mouthfeel, it actually is fairly smooth. You do get that bitterness bite that you're expecting. It is a kind of medium body. I wouldn't say light, but definitely a medium bodiness. and I do get a little bit of that alcohol warmth at the end, which is normal and acceptable to the BJCP range. Overall, I think this is a pretty fantastic beer. It actually does fall into the category fairly well. I think it's a little bit overly malty. If I had to be very strict on the guidelines, it probably could be a little bit less malty flavor. Maybe it would have helped to drop that mash temperature just a couple of points like I was talking about earlier, because it might have given a little bit more of that dryness and a little bit less of that malty flavor towards the profile. But all in all, a really good, solid fall to even late summer beer into the winter months, right? This is a good dark beer, great around a campfire. It actually has kind of that campfire vibe going on with this thing. Similar to a porter, but it's still got that hoppy bitterness and those citrusy and slash floral slash piney flavors, if you will, that really will help kind of feel like you're going into fall a little bit. So with this one, I think it's a great black IPA. I really kind of preferred between the two black IPAs that I've made on this channel. The other one's called Once You Go Black IPA, and that one's actually available. I'll have a link in the video description below. I actually prefer that one just slightly over this one, but I think they both have their own place, right? They're both different. And I always try to make a different beer every time that I brew something, just to change something up so I can learn something about different characteristics of the malts or the hops or the yeast that I'm changing in a recipe. So it's really rare that I brew the exact same beer over and over. This is a beer you're going to go to all fall and into winter if you are a IPA fan, if you're a dark fan, or if you're both, because this one kicks. So make sure you leave any comments in the comment section, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. And in the words of Batman, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. You're awesome. You want to be even more awesome? Hit that join button and become a member. You'll get exclusive members-only recipes and other perks like brew day sheets, and watch my videos early as they drop before anyone else. So hit that join button below, become a member, and be awesome.